I'm David Jeans. I'm a tech reporter at Forbes with my colleagues Sarah Emerson and Phoebe Liu. We've been investigating the company Helium. Helium actually was founded in 2013 by Sean Fanning, the founder of Napster, and Amir Helium, a game designer. It sought to address the growing Internet of Things market and providing connections to previously innate objects like dog collars and parking meters. After a few years, they had a few products that struggled to take off. In 2019, they decided to launch the company as a crypto project.
Wouldn't it make sense for all of these things to have their own internet? A network that works just for them, so they could always stay connected anywhere, anytime. That's the kind of future I want to live in. And guess what? We can. With the Helium hotspot.
The main selling point about Helium was that anyone could spend $500 and buy this machine that looked like a Wi-Fi router. You would plug it into your wall, and then it would basically provide a connection to these Internet of Things devices. In return for providing those connections, people would earn Helium tokens, which was the cryptocurrency backed by the company. Effectively, what was happening was that they were building, a grassroots telco. It was an AT&T for the Internet of Things that was entirely built by people rather than a centralized company.
Hotspot owners are incentivized to deploy a global wireless network, the People's Network, and provide connectivity in exchange for earning HNT. On the demand side, businesses and developers benefit from the People's Network with affordable and ubiquitous connectivity for their IoT devices.
In the last few years, Helium's actually generated a lot of positive press because it seemed to be a kind of way to make a modest passive income from cryptocurrency and didn't sort of buy into the hype given to other crypto projects. They said that Salesforce and the e-scooter company Lime relied on their network. Another one of those customers was the city of San Jose in California. One major national publication actually said Helium seemed to be one of the only cryptocurrency projects that had managed to avoid the hype that had dogged others. So that's what built a lot of trust among people who ended up buying the hotspots. When it emerged, it had been about $6,000 that had been generated in revenue moving across its network based on customers actually using its network. It set off some alarm bells. There was discussion around its low revenue. There was some news reports that highlighted that Helium had actually misrepresented its partnerships with some of its major customers like Lime, the e-scooter company, and Salesforce. And when we look at companies that are misrepresenting customer affiliations, they immediately emerge as red flags. They never made large proclamations about making riches or making immense amounts of money from buying in, but it was sort of understood that there would be a passive recurring income. One investor actually said you could recoup the investment in the $500 hotspot in a few weeks. The reality and what we have seen is a lot of hotspot owners had started to complain about how much tokens they were earning. One person we interviewed waited around 6 months for her hotspot to arrive. Once it did arrive, over the last 3 months, she says that she had mined one Helium token, which was about $5. When you look at how much money she spent, that really doesn't feel like it's a good deal. The irony of the People's Network and why we also focused on the fact that they had managed to convince a lot of people to buy into its network using that messaging was the fact that we found through our reporting by obtaining documents from within the company, there was actually a very small number of executives, their friends and family, and some investors who managed to mine the network at the beginning of the project. So this chart illustrates the drop-off in earnings per hotspot from the start of the project until current day. And you can see there that when the project launched in August of 2019, hotspots were earning on average 33,000 Helium tokens. Today, the average hotspot owner earns around 2 Helium tokens a month. And for some people, that's actually considered quite a lot. When you consider the current price of Helium tokens being around $4.50, $5, you're making less than your lunch money in a month. So here we can see the amount of revenue that's actually being generated from data being used across Helium's network. It's incredibly minimal. It peaked earlier this year, a little over $20,000 in a month. Most recently in August, we saw that only $1,500 was generated. When you contrast that to the amount of money that has been raised by the company, around $250 million, plus the amount of money that has been spent by hotspot owners, almost $500 million, it makes you wonder how these economics add up. There's also been complaints or concerns even over the lack of revenue being generated across its network. So with all that in mind, Helium has sought to convince its community on buying into a whole new venture, and that is Helium 5G. They've also launched a separate token called Mobile, which again is going to be operating under the same premise as Helium token. The one thing that crypto enthusiasts can do if they are convinced by Helium's next pitch is go and buy a new hotspot, but this one's going to cost you, up to $2,500.